Hi there, dance studio owners, and welcome to a brand new series of the Transform My Dance Studio podcast. Over the coming weeks, we are delighted to be joined by DSOA Dance Studio Growth Coach, Shannon Westveer. During this 6-week special of Transform My Dance Studio, join Shannon in the Coaches Corner as she workshops innovative ideas and solutions around growing the dance studio of your dreams while getting your life back. We hope you enjoy today's special episode. And make sure to join our free Facebook group, the Dance Studio Owners Association, for more resources and support in growing the dance studio of your dreams.
Hello, Dance World. I am super excited about this podcast. My name is Shannon Westveer. I'm the Training and Coaching Manager of the DSOA. I am honored to be a part of a team that is dedicated to this trade and to your success. I look forward to the next 6 weeks talking to you about one of my greatest loves in life, the dance studio industry. I owned a studio in Chicago for more than 10 years and gave everything that I had to build a multi-million-dollar organization with over 700 amazing students. My goal for this podcast is simple: to make you better, to make you wiser, to help you make the very best decisions that you can. This podcast is about sharing my experiences. It's about getting into your brain so you don't make the same mistakes that I made. It's about adapting to the stress of being a small business owner, and it's about the love that we share for dance. You took a leap of faith to love something that is difficult, but is so special in the end: owning your own business. So let's do this together. I hope that something sticks that will carry you forward. I hope that something that I portray onto you makes you a better leader, a better instructor, a better mentor, a better human. Because at the end of the day, well, that makes me happy. I learned early on that listening was the key to better decision making. It's overlooked, especially when you're an owner-operator. The perception is that there is no time. Quicker is better. I'm on an island. There's nobody that understands what I understand. Flip a coin. False. Your business is like most others at its core. Dance aside, you pay rent, you advertise, you employ, you provide a service, and hopefully, you turn a profit. Rewind and play. I never imagined back in 2004 that this would be possible. So let's go back to the beginning when it all started for me, back to the basics, so I can help show you how to build a dynamic dance studio. Today, I will dive into your big idea, the dream, the emotions, and concept behind starting your own studio. In the next few weeks, we will discuss the fundamentals. Who are you? What do you want? Why are you doing this? It's all about your target audience, the location that you choose, and ultimately how all of those pieces come together to dictate your success. Heart first, action second. The offering. Who is your client? You can have a fabulous location, but your client may not fit your location. How do you budget, market, and decide upon the program offerings? This is big. If you fail here, there's no going back. The location, the client, and the price point have to match. Let me help you in making sure that there is a fit. Week 4 is one of my favorite episodes, and where in the final years of owning my studio, I excelled. Leadership and team. You can make great decisions with location and pricing, and you can bring on hundreds and hundreds of students on board. Guess what? All of that energy, all of that effort, and you likely will fail. If you're going to be a business owner, if you're going to be successful, if you're going to have a legacy, well, you must have a great team. If you want to be great at this or anything else for that matter, you need to identify your weaknesses and surround yourself by people that are better than you. You are the hub on the wheel. You are the creator. But there are others that need to step up. Put your ego aside and be a leader. That leads us into week 5 and what will set your studio apart from all the others: culture. You must have a vision, mission, and core values so that you know what your brand promise is. Your clients need to feel it every time they walk through the door of your studio. What is your identity? Who are you? Regardless of whether you go bankrupt trying or make a franchise that makes you millions, who are you? What are you willing to risk for what is right? Everyone will see it. Your staff and your students see everything. Be great, present well, and identify yourself to the world. Lastly, in our final week together, the sky is the limit. Your future and the legacy of your studio. Where are you going? How do you continue to be better? How do you bring people up around you? If you don't dream about the unknown, what's the point? Do you talk to yourself in the car about where things will be in 5 years from now? Are you dreaming about the next chapter for your business? Are you rationalizing about the next month, next year? You need to. How exciting is it to think about the future? So let's get started. It's important for you to think about the why behind you wanting to own a dance studio. Whether you are just getting started or you've been in business for 15 plus years, the why is different for everyone. Write this down as it will be handy for later. For me, I started my journey dancing like many of you as a young child. I was 2.5 years old, living in a small town called Water Valley, Mississippi. My mom took me into Miss Priscilla's School of Dance and asked if I could try a class. Of course, they asked my age, and I was not even young enough to be in the class, but they accepted me anyways. I walked in, took the class, danced my heart out, had the best time, and of course, came out with a smiling face to my mom. The dance teacher said to her, "We'll take her. No problem. She did great." And that began my journey and love of dance from there on out. For years after I kept dancing, and I also started to do pageants. And no, my mom was not your typical stage mom or pageant mom. But after my first pageant, Little Miss Watermelon, coming off stage and running into my mom's arms and saying, I loved being on stage, she knew the pageants were in my future. So they continued for many years and all the way up until high school, until Miss Michigan pageant. I continued dancing as well. Both were always a passion of mine. Dancing and being in pageants gave me many skills in life: self-confidence, working well with others, public speaking, and just really feeling confident in my own skin and with the person that I would become later in life. Dancing went all the way through high school and into college. I did take a quick break, but after transferring out of state for college, I joined a dance team and also decided that on the side, I would love to teach and assist a class for the community center located in Flagstaff, Arizona. I will never forget the teacher that I worked with at that community center. She truly taught me everything about working with young children and the nurturing, loving, caring spirit. The creative and the fun atmosphere that she provided for them is something that I will carry with me always. Unfortunately, after a year in working with her, she passed away and I took over the program. And that truly began my love of teaching young children dance. After college, I took various positions in the marketing and advertising industries while teaching dance on the side to fill that void in my life. I quickly realized how much I loved working with kids, and after spending time with a career coach, decided that I wanted to own my own studio. Very simply, that was my dream from early on. I wanted to call my studio Jump, and living in LA, wanted to try to help moms who desperately needed to get some alone workout time in while their child enjoyed a fun-filled dance class in the room next door. I had a sign next to my bed for over a year that said, I want to own a dance studio. My husband watched me get into bed each night after reading my sign, and he knew that this was truly what I wanted. But a sign is nothing but a sign. It was a reminder of me not following my dream. It was my crutch. Starting my own business, let alone a dance studio where I would have to deal with children and their protective parents, started to feel a little daunting. I was in the middle of trying to have my first child, and had always thought that one of the best things I did as a 20-something was teach dance, where I got to witness what I would and would not do once I became a parent. We were living and I was teaching in the upscale Brentwood, California market, where I was subject to all walks of life, a percentage of which were celebrities and socialites of Los Angeles. The one thing that kept coming up for me was how much I loved the connection I had with the kids when I was in the classroom. Kids really do say the darndest things, and many times I came home with some of the most comical stories for my husband. I began to get really creative and thought often about the things that I loved most about the studio I was working at, but also what I would do differently. I didn't want to mimic the studio that I grew up in or the one I was working at. I wanted a dance studio that stood out and was a place that not only taught movement and technique, but that raised beautiful people and made them have life skills that would take them far in life. After a few months of teaching at this Brentwood studio, while continuing at my full-time advertising job, I started a business plan. Yes, this was something that I knew very well from my business marketing major in college, so I figured I would use that money well spent to utilize some of those skills. I came up with a full-fledged plan for Jump, the studio that in my mind made perfect sense, but again, I was in the middle of starting my own family. At the time, my career coach convinced me to audition for the very first season of So You Think You Can Dance, which I did, but I did not pass the final round. It was spring and change was in the air. That June, at the Brentwood Dance Studio's annual recital, I found out that I was pregnant with my first daughter, Addison. At that same time, my husband accepted a job in Chicago. A move was on the horizon. Life was about to change again. This time, it was going to be big. That day was actually the beginning of my personal journey on becoming the owner of a studio that I gave my heart and soul to for 14 years. Picture this. It's July of 2006 in downtown Chicago, and my husband and I moved into our first officially owned condo just down the street from the famed Wrigley Field. Yes, we are forever Cubs fans. I had previously sent out my resume to over 20 dance studios looking for a teaching position, as I knew that if I was going to own my own dance studio, I needed to learn the market and build on professional connections. I was at a girls' get-together one evening when a friend of mine said, "Hey, I went to this really fun MTV hip hop dance class last night with a friend at a studio over on Clark Street in Lincoln Park. You have to check them out, as it was one of the best classes I've taken in a long time." That sparked my interest, as I really had not heard back from very many studios at this point, as I was starting to get nervous around really needing to get back to work. Mind you, at this point, I'm about 8 weeks pregnant. I went home that night and immediately looked up the studio that my friend had told me about. The first thing I noticed was how they did not have much of a kids' dance program. Light bulb for me, as this was my passion, youth dance. I made the phone call. Several years later, and I was a co-owner in what would become one of the largest, if not the largest dance studios in the Midwest. That last statement took more than 10 years. We began with no more than 10 part-time teachers. There was no culture. There was no plan. There was one simple commonality: work. Love the students you so care about. Bring happiness to those around you. Teach. Make small humans better people. Bring value to your business. For a while, for years, that worked. Being exhausted, teaching hours every day, it worked. The bills got paid. I was rewarded with students that loved the studio and the community that we had created. But we were not a business yet. We were still an idea. So what was next? How could I be a better business owner? How can we continue to grow? It all comes back to the fundamentals. In my gut, I knew that it was necessary that my location and my audience meshed. Our students and their desire had to marry with my intentions of how this business would mature. The pieces had to fit. Love for dance came first. However, it wouldn't be as simple as stating those words. Infrastructure was important for legacy. team was important for process. There was still much work ahead. Join me next week as we discuss the fundamentals, how your target demographic meets your location, and how values and systems begin to play a part in identifying your studio. Thanks for spending the time on behalf of the DSOA and the dance world that defines us.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Transform My Dance Studio podcast. Don't forget to join us over in the Dance Studio Owners Association Facebook group for more resources and support in growing the dance studio of your dreams while reclaiming your life.